Hello, this is Logan Murphy, and for this video we're going to be making a very detailed film page. So just to tell you where I'm coming from, we left off with this web page, and when you click on any of these movies we end up at a page film.php question ID equals 19. So we're going to this film page, and then there's this extra query being appended to it. So let's first make this film page. So come to Eclipse, right click the folder, new, PHP file, film.php, and we're going to include the template header, and we are going to include template footer. Save it. And for the header, we can session start. After the footer, session close. Or actually commit, sorry. Okay. And semicolon here. Do a refresh, and we just have a blank page right now that we can work with. So we're going to be doing a lot of queries on this page. So if you remember downloading the EER, when we downloaded Sequila, that's this one, the MWB MySQL Workbench file. You can see that the film has these lines connecting it to other tables. This is a table, this is a table, this is a table. These are all tables, and they're connected in some way. These connections are relationships. So this film table has a relationship with film categories. So a film has categories, and this film category has categories and films. So you see that this table actually goes to two different tables. This table is called film category table. There's films and there's categories. This contains all the film categories, because films can have multiple categories, and multiple categories can go to multiple films. So this is actually a many-to-many relationship between this table and this table. There's also the film's language ID. This database doesn't take advantage of the original language. It just has information about the language ID itself. So that's the only thing we're going to worry about when we do our query. And there's also the film actor. So there's films, and then there's actors, and then there's film actors. So this is a relationship between films and their actors. So there could be many actors for one film, and there could be many films for one actor. And that's what this table allows. This table is also many. There's many actors to many films. That's why we call it film actor. And same reason here we call this film category, because there's many films to many categories. This is a one to many. So there's one language, which is English. It's the only language that exists in the database, to every film, to many films. So every film has a language. Every film uses English, so there's one language for many films. Okay. So let's get to the queries. First things first, as always, we want to set our film ID. Just create our variables. It's the first thing. So create the variables. And this is really the only variable we're going to need at this point. So first query is going to just be select star from film where film ID equals the variable film ID, semicolon. And I'm selecting from this film table, and I'm basing it on this film ID column. And this film ID column has to have the same value as this variable. So this will select any film that has the ID of 1. And we can execute that. sorry, wrong database was selected. Execute that, and you see we get the film with the film ID of 1. So there's other information we want, of course. We also want to get the film's categories. So come back here. We're going to select star from film category as FC, and we're going to do an inner join. Let me just get rid of this. Inner join on category as C, and this will be on the film category's category ID equals C's category ID. Let me just put this on multiple lines just so it looks a little bit better. Okay, so film category, I'm going to temporarily rename it FC, and category, I'm going to temporarily name it C. So if we look at our relational model here, there is a relationship between film category and category, and if we hover over this relationship, there's a category ID over here, and there's a category ID over here. So we're going to make sure that we're enforcing this category, or this relationship. The relationship's on category ID, so we're going to make sure that it holds that relationship. We're also going to have a where. Now we want to make sure that we're only looking at categories for the film we're interested, so we're going to look at the film categories film ID equals our variable film ID. Actually, we're not going to save that, just execute it. When we get a category, documentary, we really only need the name, so now that we know what we can get, we really only need the C category name. And for this one, let's see. You want to look at every single column that it's giving you and see what you actually want. We want title. We don't want the film ID because we already have it. We want description. We want release year. Rental duration. Rental rate. Length. Replacement costs. Rating. Special features. And that's really all. And we'll execute that to make sure that that's working right. Alright, so we're only going to get information that we actually want to show on this web page. Go back to our ER. We also want to get the language that's spoken in this movie, so we actually need to extend this selection a little bit. So we're going to rename this F, and we're going to do an inner join on the language table as L on f.language ID equals L's language ID. And once again, that's because there's this relationship between film and language, and if you hover over this relationship, you do see that language ID is over here, language ID is over here. So if we want to get that language, we want to make sure those languages are same on this join. Okay, and we're also going to get L's name. And let's just verify that that's what it's actually called. We can look over here, extend the language table and its columns, and that's the name. So we're getting the language name. And just to be safe, so we know what tables we're getting these from, I'm going to put F dot in front of all these because we're getting it from the film table, because that's what film is being renamed for this query. And we'll execute. And you scroll all the way over, and you see the name is English. Now, okay, everything here is unique, so I was just thinking if I had two columns with the same name, but we don't, so far so good. Finally, we're going to get all the actors of a film. So we come here, we got to do an inner join between actor and the film actor. And we're just going to select star for now. I'll close this so you can see everything. Select star from actor as A, inner join, film actor as FA on the relational component. So the thing that relates a film actor and an actor is that actor ID. They both have an actor ID. So A.actor ID equals FA.actor ID. And we're going to make sure that film actor, which also has a relationship on film, its film ID is the film ID we're interested in, which is .film ID equals our variable film ID, semicolon. We'll execute this and see what we actually want. We want the first name, we want the last name. That's really all we want from this query. So first name, last name, and make sure you get rid of that star. Execute again. Now we get exactly what we wanted. Okay, so now we have our queries. We know what data we actually want. Now we just need to figure out how we want to display it. So, first line, we're going to connect to the database, localhost, root, Sequila. This returns a connection, so we store it. And we're going to prepare a statement. So we're going to set up our variables first. So set film ID equal question. And that's an integer. And remember this number, 19, or this question mark with an ID equals some number. We don't actually know what number, but we can actually get that number using something called the get array. And we just have to ask it for the name of the parameter. So this will give us 19 in this instance. Semicolon. And that returns a statement. I'm actually doing this really wrong. One thing at a time. MySQL statement bind param. Tell it a statement you want to bind parameters to, and let's put this at where it actually belongs. MySQL statement execute. MySQL statement close. So this is just setting up that variable. Done with the variables. Okay, so far we've done only this first line of code. This first line of MySQL that just sets the variable to be the thing that they're actually asking for. The user is actually asking for. Next we're going to get this. Keep that there. MySQL query, give it the connection. And this actually also needs the connection. This is a long one. So this will return a table, as always. The statement. See if there's a table. Then we'll get the row. An associative array from the table. If there is a row, then we'll print some data. Okay. There's a lot of stuff we need to print at this point. I'm just gonna get rid of this for now, so we have more room to see what we're doing. So let's just get everything out there just to make sure this is working. So title, description, release year, duration, rate, length, cost, rating, special features, name. Okay, so it did for each, pretty much. And then we'll make it look nice. Let's make sure it works first, then we'll make it look nice. Echo. So we're going to use these column names from the row. Title first, and actually I'm going to copy paste this to release, duration, rate, length, placement, rating, special features, name. So title, description, release year, rental, duration, length, replacement cost, rating, special features, name, and I missed one. Title, description, release year, duration, and the rental rate. Save it. Just press refresh. Okay, so we see all of our information here. Let's just put a description for each one. Just so that we know what we're showing. So that we're just adding plain HTML text in front of this PHP code block. I'm actually going to put the word minutes after this. Replacement cost with a T. Rating, special features, language, because this is the name of the language. If you look up here, and it says l.name, that's the language name. And I have title. Keep missing one. Something happened. Title, description, release year, rental duration, rental rate, length, replacement cost, rating, special features, language. Okay. Let's go back to the page, do a refresh. Got 6 days, I guess. So the duration is days. So I saw the number 6 here, and I'm assuming it's days. You'll see days pop up right there, because I used plain text to put it there. 30 minutes. I'm going to put a dollar sign in front of replacement cost right here, and I guess I'll put it right here too. It's kind of weird seeing dollar in front of 99, but that's okay. Okay, so we have this information, and I just feel like getting all the information on the page first. So let's I'm having a mind blank. Free the table, free the result, so we have more memory to work with. Now we run our second query. So we'll get a table for doing a query on this database using the string, and this will be to get all the categories. If there's a table, then we'll get the row. Well, actually, there could be more than one, so we'll get many rows. Sorry, associative, a table. Before I forget, free the table after we're done using it, and we're going to echo div. So something I haven't really shown you, you can actually combine two strings together with a dot character. So right now this echo will print this, and then this dot actually means combine it with this. And you can also combine strings with variables. I don't think that's what it, yeah, it's right here, so it is name. So right now I'm going to echo a div followed by the name of a category followed by a closing div, semicolon. Come back here, refresh it, and it's action. That was added. Finally, we're actually going to do something very similar to this. So we're just going to do a copy paste. And eventually this will just get really repetitive, because it really is repetitive. Tab it out. This will be first name, and we'll concat that with a space followed by last name. And I missed a dot here. Come back here, and we got these actors and actresses. I guess I spelled something wrong. Unless these people don't have last names, which they definitely should. Execute this again. They do have last name. Oh, sorry, I put an underscore. So it's printing the first name followed by a space followed by the last name, which is div first name space last name close div. That's what this dot is allowing me to do. Instead of doing 20 echoes, I need to do one. Well, not 20, but it would be 5 without the dot character. Okay. So, we have all of our data on one page now. And the problem is figuring out how you want it to be displayed. Okay, so let's do it if, so So far we've seen 0. If I've seen, sorry, $1. If I've seen 0, then I'm going to echo let's do this. Is first. Then I'm going to echo actors. This will be a class. I think it's title. Semicolon. And then is first will be false because this is no longer the first. If we do this loop again, it'll be the second. Won't be the first. It should be a single $. Let's come back here. And doesn't look like, so this should be true initially. So if it is the first, which it will be the first time around, the second time around it will be false. And if we did the loop again, we would not come back up here, we would go right to the while loop again, it would be false again. So only on the first thing will we print actors. Okay, we'll do something similar here. Is first is true, because this is the first thing we're doing. If it is the first thing we're doing, then we're going to echo a div whose class is title, and this will say categories. Close the div, semicolon, no longer the first. Go back here, categories. We'll add some spacing too. So after the while loop, I'm not 100% sure what I called this class. I'm pretty sure it is spacing. And instead of echoing, I'm just going to turn PHP off for a minute, turn it back on. See if that works. Okay, so we got the spacing I wanted. And we got these. So let's, instead of doing it like this, where it's a bunch of divs, let's do comma separated. Just do a bunch of commas. So pretty much no div here. If we're not printing the first thing, actually, let's practice else. If we're printing the first thing, then we're going to print the title. If we're not printing the first thing, then we're going to print a comma and a space. So for the first time we go through this loop, it will be first is true, and we'll print actors. We will never do this else for that loop. Then we'll echo an actor's name, first and last name, and then it is no longer first. Then we'll do the loop again. Is first? No. Then we'll echo a comma space, and you'll see that. Do a refresh, and we see comma separated. Okay. Do something similar for action, or the category, that is. Else, echo, let's get rid of this div here. Comma space, semicolon. And you won't see any commas because there's only one category. Next, let's make this title, let's just make Amadeus the title. So let's just put it Let's put a class on this div of title so that, and I'm going to remove the text title from here because now it should be pretty obvious this is the title. And what I want to do is figure out what the width of this area I have to work with is. 580 pixels. So I'm going to make a div whose class is half, I guess, and I'll put another div whose class is half. I'll go to template, CSS, and I'm going to create a class called half, whose width is 290 pixels. See if they caught up. Actually, I'm not using these divs, so it makes sense that it's not doing anything. So I'm going to put the description in this half. I'm going to put the release year in this half. I'm just going to put everything in that half. Okay. And in the other half, I'm going to put an image. And the image is going to be the image we've been using. Images/film.jpeg. And his height, or his width, will be 290. Whoa. That's actually not the image I want to use. The image I want to use is right here. Did I download this? Yes, I did. Do a refresh. There it is. Placeholder. Images/placeholder.jpg. Do a refresh. Actually, that's the wrong page. Let's go to Amadeus again. Close this up. It's a little too long and it's a little too wide. So, what am I going to do? Let's just make it 200. Okay. Also, for the float, for the halves, you need to make a float left. And after the halves, since we want to end the float left, we have to have spacing. Because spacing has a clear both. Okay. And I'm actually not liking this a whole lot, but it's okay. So I'm going to make this strong. So strong is pretty much bold. And all these descriptions are going to be bold. Oops. Just so that they stand out. And close that strong. For all of them. Save it. Back here. Let's put between each of these divs, let's just add some spacing. Oops. Give us even more spacing, so that way we can make the image bigger. There. I'm going to add some more spacing up here too. Right under the title. Alright. It's probably as good as I'm trying to get it. Not very pretty, but it gets the job done. It's showing all the information. I could probably take these halves and add the padding to it so that everything has more room to breathe. Since I just added 10 on the left, 10 on the right, the image size has to decrease by 20. Probably more than that. Let's just do 65. Actually, I'm not thinking right now. This needs to decrease by 20. Alright, and I'll put this back up. Actually, I can't put it back up. Alright, so that's all I'm going to do for this. This page looks as good as I can make it. So if there's anything you want to do, feel free. I'm Logan Murphy, and I'll see you next time.